My parents turned me into a prop for their RV lifestyle, and now I'm an 18-year-old with no friends, no job, and no way out. When I was just around 7, my parents made the decision to pack us up and move into an RV to travel around the U.S. I was far too young to have any say in it. My dad works online, and my mom creates content. She's not a massive star, but she's well known enough that we sometimes get recognized in public. It also means I've had a camera in my face for as long as I can remember. For my own privacy, I won't go into more details about that. I sleep in a tiny bunk bed that I outgrew years ago, and the other bunk is the only space I have to store anything I own. I don't even have a room, just a curtain, and thank God I'm an only child, or else I would have to share the small space I have already. I was homeschooled for most of my education and then switched to online school at my own insistence for high school. I'm an 18-year-old girl. I don't have a single friend in person because the longest I've ever stayed anywhere is a month. I don't have a job and no way to get one because of not being stationary unless I find one online, which also means I have no way to move out and get away from them. I've had conversations with them about all of this countless times, and they are so delusional and genuinely believe that a nomadic existence is the best way to live, so why would I never need anything else? I hate them for treating me like some pet they can just drag along in their plans rather than their child. I hate traveling, I don't like heat, I hate dealing with bugs, and I'm so sick of hiking. I can't wait for the day that I finally figure out a way to get away from them with their morning hikes and cameras in my face. I've traveled around the US, yeah, but God forbid I want to have a normal life, go to college, or maybe even make some friends? That's asking too much. Relevant comments. Commenter number 1, I can't even imagine how lonely that must be. Do you have any other family you could go stay with? OP, not that I know of, unfortunately. Currently my plan is to try to figure out some making sort of income online and save up so I can get an apartment, and I'm talking with someone I've known online for a long time about maybe being roommates to help with costs for both of us. Commenter number 2, going to college is perhaps the easiest way out, but maybe not the cheapest. However, certainly a good step forward, for multiple reasons. OP, I'm definitely looking into it, but I'm worried about it because with the way I was homeschooled, I was very behind academically and struggled a lot in high school. I was just happy I was able to do an actual online high school program rather than homeschooling. Commenter number 3, ironically, if you were to start creating content about getting away from your hipster parents, you'd probably gain a lot of attention. OP, honestly, I've considered it just for the purpose of spreading awareness, but it didn't seem smart to me for a few reasons. Firstly, it didn't seem like a long-term solution. I don't think the content would be all that interesting once my story is told. There isn't any other real content there. There is only so many times you can talk about the same thing without it getting repetitive and boring people. Plus, I would have to be in a stable position enough to feel comfortable talking about it and have an out just in case things went sideways. But more importantly, I've already had my life plastered onto the internet from such a young age. I don't think it's worth giving up the one aspect of my life that hasn't been published publicly. Update 9 days later. Hello, barely over a week ago I made a post talking about my very negative experience living in an RV with my parents for around 10 years now. Despite it being such a short time since I posted it, a lot has changed for me since then. I don't know how many people here would be interested in an update on my situation, but I know quite a few people were very concerned and would probably appreciate an update, so here it is. I have a tendency to ramble, so I apologize in advance. I had a lot of people give me really helpful advice, resources, as well as even offers to try to help personally, some being questionable admittedly, but a majority being genuinely concerned, wanting to try to help, and I very much appreciate that. It was slightly overwhelming, to be honest, and I ended up not responding to a lot of people, so you'll all have to forgive me for that. But even if I didn't respond much, I had been doing research on a lot of the information people gave me. Something that stood out to me was people asking if I had any family I could stay with, to which I had to respond, not that I know of, because I don't have anyone on my dad's side of the family, and my mom strictly no contact with her family. I did not know if they were alive, if they cut her off, if she cut them off, or even any details about them, and my mom had never wanted to talk about it. What information I did have was my mom's maiden name, which is pretty uncommon, and where she was born, which in terms of trying to find family can actually get you surprisingly far, I've come to realize. I've always had a slight hatred for the internet because I never had any choice in my life being public knowledge, and I know that once something is out there, it's out there, but for the first time I'm actually really grateful for the internet. I was able to find some information on my mother's side of the family, and specifically was able to find my grandma's Facebook account, though it did take me some effort. After a lot of stressing on how to approach messaging her, if I even should, as well as potential outcomes, I messaged her explaining my mom's life, who I was, and my situation. I won't go into details onto why my grandma and my mom are no contact, because that is not my story to share, but my grandma was appalled that she has a granddaughter she didn't even know about, and even more so the way in which her daughter raised me. I found out I have an aunt and an uncle, both of which my grandma told them about me and my situation. I've been in pretty much constant contact with all of them since just learning about each other. All of them want to help me get out of this living situation with my parents, and luckily with me being 18 now, it's actually possible. Again, I don't feel entirely comfortable going into details, but I have arrangements to go stay with my aunt who lives in a big city on the West Coast that had a lot of potential opportunities for me to start college or whatever I see fit, which I do plan on figuring out college, happy to announce. My uncle has kids, but my aunt lives on her own and has a spare bedroom which she has no problem letting me stay in for as long as necessary. I have a train ticket scheduled and purchased by my aunt and enough money to get to the station. I'm talking with my family, still feels weird to type, currently, and trying to plan out the details like how or if I'm going to tell my parents. My mom doesn't know any information on where any of her family lives, so even if I were to tell my parents who I'm going to live with, they wouldn't know where I was specifically. Someone pointed out that if I did leave without telling them, I should leave a note or some form of proof that I left willingly, so if I do opt out of a conversation, I'm planning on either leaving a note or filming a video explaining my plans and why I'm leaving, which would be kinda of ironic, wouldn't it? Regarding my mom filming, I've been very quiet around my parents and just refusing to talk when the camera is on, but neither one of them has mentioned it yet so far, luckily. Also, speaking of my mom's content, I would like to very much emphasize something quickly. Almost everyone was genuinely trying to help, but I had a few people replying trying to guess who I was. Luckily, the few I saw were basically torn to shreds and ended up deleting their comments. I also had a few people who messaged me privately trying to make a guess at who I am, which at least that's not public, I guess. Although I can understand being curious, I posted anonymously with very little personal information for a reason. As I stated in my previous post, I have gotten enough attention and I'm very much sick of it. I would very much appreciate it if you guys can respect that. Even if you think you might know who I am, please don't make public guesses, and understand that I don't want this to be even more public information tied to my name. Very long story short, I have set plans to leave as well as a safe place to go with my aunt once I do, and very much appreciate the people for being so willing to help. If you had told me not even 2 weeks ago that not only do I have a plan to move away from my parents but contact with family members I didn't even know existed, I don't think I would have believed it. I'm currently not planning on making another post updating this, but wanted to let anyone who was concerned about me to not worry. Genuinely, thank you.